That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Alright guys, if you are new to the Flock Network around here, I want to be completely transparent with y'all. The videos that I make are based on the demands from people on Patreon, as well as the support that we get for the videos on YouTube. So whenever I see a particular video get over 100 likes, whenever I see that the average watch time is significantly higher, so y'all are paying a little bit more attention, y'all are enjoying it more, I'm going to continue to make videos on that topic. I'm going to continue to try to give as much information as I can. And so far, these videos where it is a running back versus running back or wide receiver versus wide receiver, and we are getting down to the very small details on what player we would prefer in Dynasty. I mean, y'all have been giving so much positive feedback. Y'all have been leaving the nicest comments. These videos are getting hundreds of likes. So I want to thank everybody who has supported the videos up until this date. But I want to ask y'all, is it just because I've been talking about intriguing players, or do you like this video format as well? Please, if you enjoy this video format and you want to see more of these videos in the future, make sure y'all go down there, drop that like, and also let me know in the comment section, because that's going to dictate what kind of videos I make going forward. But anyway, in this video, I chose two wide receivers to talk about that were on this same collegiate team. Both guys very, very intriguing for Dynasty Fantasy Football, going at a great price point in my opinion with our recent mock drafts, but they are right next to each other. So a lot of people have questions. Do I go with AJ Brown? Do I go with DK Metcalf? I mean, there's so much overlap here between the two wide receivers. I think it is intriguing to talk about. And we are going to do this just like we did with our other videos, where I'm going to break each player down individually, compare the two, and then give my final decision at the very end on where I would prefer to go in Dynasty Fantasy Football. And let's start it off with the wide receiver that I actually faded going into 2020. I thought he was a sell high, and he proved me wrong. I mean, this is one of the biggest L's that I have to hold from this past offseason, and this is going to be AJ Brown. Okay, so with AJ Brown, I mean, coming out of Ole Miss, he had everything you would ever want to see from a wide receiver. I mean, he had prototypical size at 6 foot, 226 pounds. I mean, he was a superb athlete. People literally did not know if he was going to be a professional baseball player or a professional football player. And he was extremely young, providing us production at Ole Miss whenever he got the opportunity. He is still only 23 years old, going into his third season, so only a year older than a wide receiver coming into the NFL this season in Devontae Smith. He was drafted in the middle of the second round in the 2019 NFL draft, and clearly was a massive value by the Tennessee Titans, because through his first two seasons, I mean, AJ Brown has looked like a straight up stud. If we look at what he did in 2019, these overall numbers are going to be a little bit skewed just because he was a wide receiver that definitely started slow, but then pulled up with elite numbers at the very end. So if you look at the averages, really doesn't tell the entire story. But anyway, let's go through those averages, and he averaged just over 5 targets a game in 2019. So honestly, not an extremely impressive number. This is why I did not like AJ Brown going into 2020. This is why I preferred wide receivers like DJ Moore. I thought that DJ Moore had showed us that he was going to be able to accumulate more volume, and he was a safer option, because generally in fantasy football, I am always the guy to chase the volume, chase the opportunity, fade the efficiency, because generally the opportunity is what sticks season to season, and the efficiency is what is volatile. So if you buy at the right points when a player has an inefficient stretch of games but is getting the opportunity, then you can create a massive selling point later on when they have that opportunity and efficiency to go along with it. So generally, that's how I play Dynasty Fantasy Football. Obviously, you're going to have some misses like we had with AJ Brown. And I mean, here with only about 5 targets a game in 2019, he was able to average about 3.5 receptions, 65 yards a game. So a ridiculous yards per target, combined with his touchdown rate as well. I mean, with only 5.5 targets a game, AJ Brown was able to go out there and score 8 total touchdowns. So that's why I was fading him. I mean, my little monkey brain told me, okay, AJ Brown's only getting this amount of targets. Yes, he can see a bump up in opportunity, but the efficiency will most likely go down regardless. So we're probably looking at a wide receiver 2 here, not someone that I think has that elite overall upside. But he proved me wrong, because not only did we see the volume go up, but we saw his efficiency maintain at an extremely high level, where in 2020 he averaged 7.5 targets a game, 5 receptions as well. So that catch rate is so damn high. 76 receiving yards as well, so the yards per target are there. And the touchdown rate is absurd, 11 touchdowns this past season. I mean, so A.J. Brown just looks like a straight up alpha wide receiver. And A.J. Brown was suffering a knee injury in 2020. Obviously, he did not miss an extended period of time, but we can naturally assume around that time where he suffered the knee injury, he was most likely playing games not at 100%, which I know everybody in the NFL does, but it's just important to mention if you don't know that already. But let's stop focusing on what he's already done at the NFL level. Let's try to look at what his situation will be in 2021, because we've already come to terms with A.J. Brown being one of the most impressive wide receivers, going to continue to develop his craft. But what is the opportunity going to look like? I mean, what is the overall offense going to look like? Because so far through 2 seasons with Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry, I mean, the Tennessee Titans look like an offense that we have not seen in the past 15 years. I mean, with how effective they are at running the football, with how effective they are off of play action. I mean, they are doing their best impersonation of the Seattle Seahawks a few seasons ago, where, yeah, the pass attempts aren't necessarily crazy high, but when you're able to lean on such a dominant running game, it gives you a ton of flexibility. And here we have good and bad news going forward for A.J. Brown, in my opinion. The good news is Corey Davis, one of my favorite wide receivers in the NFL, is a free agent this offseason. The Tennessee Titans decided to decline picking up his 5th-year option. We know that Corey Davis was a first-round pick, so the Titans could have had him guaranteed in 2021 if they decided to, but they didn't. They decided to let Corey Davis become a free agent, and I'd imagine the team does try to re-sign Corey Davis, but there's no guarantee here depending on what the money is going to look like. So if Corey Davis leaves this offense, I think we could truly see A.J. Brown jump up to being one of those elite wide receivers, someone like a Devontae Adams, someone like a Michael Thomas, with the target share that he is going to have in the Tennessee Titans offense. I mean, he could truly be a dominant X-alpha wide receiver. But on the flip side of that coin, Derrick Henry is going to be 27 years old. Actually, Derrick Henry is already 27 years old. I know a lot of people want to look at these running backs and just think it's crazy for them to fall off after a very impressive season. But if anybody is going to fall off anytime soon, I think that it could be Derrick Henry. I mean, you look at his playing style, I understand he is bigger, he is stronger, he is a bigger man than anybody else out there. I mean, me talking on Derrick Henry as if I think that he is going to wear down anytime soon is kind of laughable, because I'm sitting here with my 5'10" short self weighing less than 160 pounds, and I'm looking at Derrick Henry, who's a completely different species than the little wimpy Mason Dodd is. But still, I mean, 27 years old, Todd Gurley's 26. This is the age where you see these running backs fall off, especially the running backs that are getting hit constantly, not the guys that are elite pass catchers. I mean, I think a guy like Christian McCaffrey is going to be able to transition later on in his NFL career a lot easier than Derrick Henry, because once the speed is gone, once he has those nagging injuries, I mean, once his explosive run style is not there, he's not going to be able to lean on receiving. I mean, he's not going to be able to catch the balls out of the backfield and make defenders miss in the open field, just because that's not the type of running back he is. I mean, if you look at the contract the Tennessee Titans decided to give him as well, I mean, they decided to give him pretty much no guaranteed money after the 2021 football season. So I think the Tennessee Titans are kind of preparing themselves for this fall off from Derrick Henry as well. So I'll say there could be a great outcome of A.J. Brown being a top 3 wide receiver in fantasy if we see Derrick Henry and this rushing attack maintain their dominance and allow Ryan Tannehill to thrive off the play action in 2021, especially if Corey Davis leaves in free agency. Possibly they bring in a rookie wide receiver that's not able to develop right away, and A.J. Brown is seeing a ridiculous 29, 30, 31% team target share. If that happens, Brown could easily be an elite alpha wide receiver. If that does not happen, say Derrick Henry gets injured, say Derrick Henry has a high ankle sprain, a hamstring strain, just whatever it is this upcoming season with his advanced age, or even if he is just less efficient, is unable to go out there and bust off those big plays at such a high clip, because so far he has been an outlier at the NFL level, and we see Corey Davis stay to soak up some of those targets. I mean, there's a range, it's in the range of outcomes for A.J. Brown to most likely be a low-end wide receiver 2 if that happens. And that is not something I'm excited about in the slightest. But anyway, let's stop focusing in on A.J. Brown. Let's go over to DK Metcalf and look at his fantastic career so far at the NFL level. And DK Metcalf, very similar to A.J. Brown, I mean, is still only 23 years old. He did exactly what you wanted to see at Ole Miss. I mean, when he was active, when he was on the field, he was dominant at an extremely young age. Obviously, with DK Metcalf, he's one of the best athletes in the entire NFL as well. We know this by his 40 time. You know this by just watching him on the football field. And we've all seen the highlight play of DK Metcalf chasing down that interception, looking like a track star at 6'3", 228 pounds. I mean, DK Metcalf is similar to Derrick Henry. I should not even be qualified to speak those names just because these are men. I am a little boy. I understand that. But still, DK Metcalf, a straight up man. I mean, girls want to date him, guys want to be him. Y'all know the situation. But anyway, let's look at what he's been able to do so far in his NFL career. And in 2019, very similar to A.J. Brown, I mean, he had a fantastic rookie season, over 6 targets a game, so the volume was a little bit higher, but DK Metcalf was making an impact a little bit earlier on. He had over 3.5 receptions, 56 receiving yards a game, and 7 touchdowns. So here, this is why I prefer DK Metcalf over A.J. Brown in offseason ago, and that's with the volume over the efficiency. That's something I'm always going to be chasing. And in 2020, I mean, he gets that bump up in volume as well, and the efficiency maintains. 8 targets a game, 5.5 receptions, 81 yards, and 10 total touchdowns. So, I mean, both of these guys look like straight up studs, but with the case of DK Metcalf, I think his situation is honestly a little bit more stable because you look at the Seattle Seahawks offense, and Tyler Lockett is currently 29 years old, coming off a season where he had 100 total receptions. Then after that, we have DK Metcalf coming in. I believe he had about 80 receptions this past season. So just naturally assuming that Tyler Lockett is going to continue to diminish in his role in the Seattle Seahawks offense, assuming that DK Metcalf is going to step up and see more opportunity. I mean, I think Metcalf is a guy that is a lock at the very minimum to see 8 targets a game this upcoming season. I think that is his low-end range of outcomes, and I think he does have it in his high-end range of outcomes to just completely take over. I mean, I think that he could be the next Calvin Johnson. You look at his size, you look at his athletic profile, you look at what he's been able to accomplish at the NFL level so far, and we know that Russell Wilson is going to always be one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the NFL. And this is something that I've been talking about a ton in these Dynasty mock drafts as of late, that with Russell Wilson, I know a lot of people want to just naturally assume that he's someone that's not going to be able to play at this elite level for much longer. But these quarterbacks play so long. It does not matter that Russell Wilson's 32 years old. Age does not matter at the quarterback position. I mean, we have, at the very minimum, another 5 years of elite Russell Wilson tied to the Seattle Seahawks, tied to DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf should be the alpha wide receiver on this offense this following season. So to recap everything, I mean, both of these guys have been fantastic throughout their entire NFL careers. And we know that both of them have top 3 overall upside at the wide receiver position for this next season. Both of them are at the same age, so we really don't have too much concerns about one having more long-term value than the other. But with the Seattle Seahawks situation being a little bit more stable, with DK Metcalf having less downside, I think honestly we are going to be leaning with DK Metcalf over A.J. Brown. Maybe I am overrating the fact that I think this Tennessee Titans offense can regress going into 2021 based on them being such an outlier over the past 2 seasons with Derrick Henry manhandling opposing defenses and allowing Ryan Tannehill to be one of the best quarterbacks in the entire NFL off the play action. Maybe I'm giving too much thought to that. Please let me know what you think in the comment section below. But right now, I'm looking at DK Metcalf just as the safer wide receiver because I don't think there's a possibility that he's anything less than a low-end wide receiver 1 this upcoming season. Now, thank you guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I really hope y'all got something from it. As always, if y'all did, go down there, drop that like, leave that comment, subscribe to the channel. It really, really helps us out. And yeah, that's it. I will see y'all with the video tomorrow.